Hello. I'm so nervous about being on here. That's why I didn't tell anyone beforehand, because I was worried that nobody would jump on, and I just didn't want to be on here with no one on. So thank you for joining. I just figured I'd hop on, answer a few questions that you guys might have on breast reductions and my journey. I am in South Bend, and so traveling for work, so I figured, why not? There's no kids that are going to join. I'm getting one in September. Oh, that's so exciting. I remember that time, and it always just feels like it's so long, but it really does fly by. So take the summer, have some fun. Hello. Hi, Kelly. I did a couple of videos for you guys earlier too, so I'm going to post those with some information. I finally got my bill back from the doctors after it went through insurance and everything. So my insurance paid for my breast reduction, and the doctors billed the insurance about $17,000, and I will be left with about $3,000. I did not get implants put in. I wanted mine to look very natural, and the upper pole fullness that you get with implants was kind of appealing, but honestly, they look natural and they're perky, and they should stay pretty perky, so I didn't get those. How long was I in pain? The worst of the pain was like 3 days. And that was it. After that, every day kept getting less and less. I am 6 weeks out, and I still get random, like a little bit of like soreness. I wouldn't even call it pain, but it's soreness. And so I just try to listen to my body. But I did take 2 weeks off work, and honestly, I think I could have went back after a week because I had a desk job, I worked from home, and I didn't have drains or anything like that. So after a week, I feel like I probably could have went back to work. Let's see, I missed a couple, I think, in here. I had mine 2 months ago. Did you have nerve pain while healing? My sister did, but luckily I did not. You know, I haven't had a ton of nerve pain. Right after my reduction, while I was like waking up from anesthesia, I remember just saying it burns so bad. Like my incisions were just burning, and they like were trying to give me pain medicine, and it just kept burning. And so finally they're like, what? Like, or I just kept saying it hurt, not it burns. And they're like, what kind of pain do you have? And I was like, it's burning. And they're like, that sounds like nerve pain. So they finally gave me a nerve pain, and that helped. So after the first 3 days, I didn't have that bad nerve pain, or that bad burning. And like even now, I don't really think, like I've heard some people say they have zingers, and I don't feel like I have those little zingers happening. So I don't know that I do. And I know that like I have some numbness still, and that's slowly coming back, but I haven't experienced a ton of nerve pain. Hi, sister. My little sister's on here. I don't get to see her much because we live far away. Is it right to do it at 20 years old? And if yes, will it affect the after-child breastfeeding? Whether or not it's right for you at 20, I can't really answer that. I can answer the breastfeeding, and that is it can. It's just a risk that you take. I will say though that breastfeeding with large breasts was also very challenging. I couldn't position the baby correctly. So, you know, a lot of times, especially if you're carrying around a baby and nursing, you're holding him like this, and you can nurse standing up. My sister nursed all of her kids. I've seen her do it. I've seen cousins do it. I could not do that. I had to be sitting down, and the baby literally laid it in my lap as I nursed. And so that in itself is challenging. And I always had to do like, it's called a hamburger hold, I think, or hamburger hold, where I had to kind of squeeze it and push him in there and hold it, because if I let go, it would like cover the baby's nose. I even went to like a lactation consultant and tried to get some better positioning, and it was very challenging. And I never made it to a year with any of my kids. However, I am glad that I waited, because even with pregnancy and everything, your body changes, your boobs change. I always gained a ton of weight when I was pregnant, and so I would gain in my boobs. I just never lost afterwards. Do you suggest reaching goal weight before scheduling? It's always suggested. My doctor never brought it up to me. I did lose 50 pounds before. I mean, that's a risk, because if I wouldn't have lost weight, I still would have had my reduction. And then if I would have lost 50 pounds afterwards, my boobs could have gotten smaller. And I was okay if they went a little bit smaller, but I went to a C. So if they got like really small, it could be an A, and that might bother me, but I would have been fine with a B too. So it's always suggested, but not required. How are the scars? I have what's called an anchor scar, which is, it goes completely around the nipple and then down under here vertical, and then it comes up and around. And I have a little bit of an extended incision as well. And those are permanent. They will fade. The one around the nipple is kind of hidden on the outline of your areola. And then the ones underneath are mostly hidden under your boob. But the lines that go straight down are, I mean, they're always going to be visible, but you can do some things to kind of help minimize that a little bit. But I think they're healing great so far. I think they look really good. Did they reposition your nipples? Yes. So for reference, my nipple was like down to here and now it's like up to here. So when you do a breast reduction, there's a great video that I've shared. It's on YouTube, but it's like a Play-Doh. And the best visual I can say is if you have your nipples pierced and you have a vertical nipple, it actually ends up being horizontal afterwards, because they essentially just rotate it up without, unless you have a free nipple graft, without disconnecting all of the nerves and stuff like that. My sister should have asked for a nerve blocker. Yeah, that would have helped. They sent me home with some. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome. How much weight did you lose before op, or didn't? I lost about 40, 45 pounds before my operation, and I've lost about close to 7 pounds since 7 to 10 pounds since my operation. I was not able to breastfeed, but my kids did well with formula. Yeah, I supplemented with formula too. They might confuse my belly button for my nipple. Do you have an Audi? That's funny. So, yeah. Let's see what else. Any other questions? How much was the cost? So I did talk about this probably right before you jumped on. If it's medically necessary, they're going to bill your insurance first, and then they billed about $17,000 to my insurance. I have about $3,000 for my copay that I'm going to have to pay. If you don't run it through insurance, then a lot of times they will bill you as like a cosmetic surgery, which normally drops the price down to like $10,000. So whether you're using insurance or not, that can make a difference. How I got insurance to cover it? Yes. So all insurances are going to be just a little bit different. But the gist of it is that you have to have documented like pain, back pain, shoulder pain, ongoing. So it can't just be you go once and say, hey, I've had this pain. They want documented ongoing. And then they want to see that you've tried other avenues to make it better. So for example, I went to chiropractic care. They put on there that I've tried to lose weight to also try and lose weight here, and that didn't help. And then physical therapy as well. So make sure that you document that. And typically, I have a friend who did this many years ago, and she said that she was required to go to 6 weeks of chiropractic care and then resubmit it with her insurance company. So that's what she did. So if you haven't done it up to this point, you can probably do like 6 weeks of therapy and then try to resubmit it. Another thing that can help is if you get any rashes underneath from like your boobs sitting on your body, then document that or make sure that you're complaining about that to your doctor as well, so that they have that paper trail of that happening. Neck pain, and then the shoulder grooving, which is where you have like dips in your shoulder from your bra straps sitting there. That's always good. My doctor, they take pictures beforehand and submit it to your insurance company. And then a big thing is that they want to make sure that they are taking off enough boob, I guess. And so they do, I think it's called a Schooner scale. Mine was 22%. And honestly, I've tried Googling this and I can find like a scale that explains what it is, but it makes no sense to me. So I don't know if it's just like a medical term or whatever, but I can share that with you guys as well. So hopefully that helps. I made sure when I did the insurance, I also had all of my doctors, so my OBGYN, my chiropractor, and my primary care physician, nurse practitioner, I had them all write a letter of recommendation, which was just really good, explaining why they think I should get it done and how it would help my quality of life, including physical and mental. Hopefully that helps. You're welcome. Ooh, I almost removed someone. And then, so afterwards too, I was talking about going back to work. If you have, obviously you're going to work with your doctor, but if you have any type of, like a desk job, I don't think that you're going to need a ton of time off. Like I said, I took 2 weeks. My work we have unlimited PTO, but I get 2 weeks of work off before I have to start taking medical. And since, at least here in the US, but you have to have worked to qualify for FMLA, you have to have worked at your job for a minimum of 1 year and 1,200, you have to have worked 1,250 hours within that year. I've not been at my current job for a year. And so I really didn't want to take more than 2 weeks and go unpaid. But I also work in HR and I'm very familiar with how this stuff works. And so for me, 2 weeks was perfect. How come you didn't have drains? Is this normal? So from what I've seen, more and more surgeons are opting not to have drains. Unless they're needed to. My doctor told me he really won't know until he's about to close if I'm going to need drains or not, based on the fluid that's coming out and like all of the swelling. And I didn't end up needing them. I was surprised because they were taking off, I feel like, so much that I thought for sure I would need them, but I woke up and didn't need them. And honestly, I was just fine without them. I didn't experience any openings. Some people do, especially along like the T where it meets down here. People experience openings there. And I didn't. There was a couple days where I felt like I had maybe just slight swelling all the way up to my collarbone, but it was just a couple days and then it started to go down. And I'm finding that more and more doctors from the groups that I'm in and just people commenting that more and more are opting not to do that. So, great question. My doctor also released me to work out, but I'm just not super comfortable there because I do have some like side boob over here that I've talked to my doctor about. He has said that I can do some liposuction there later on if I want, if it doesn't go down, but I'm really hoping that I can kind of tone up a little bit because I need to anyways for my weight loss, tone up a little bit, and hopefully that will go down some as well. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. I haven't been cleared for any type of like swimming or getting in a bath yet. He told me to wait more till like 6 to 8 weeks. how long after childbirth we can go for a breast reduction? Good question. So I actually inquired about this. My daughter my youngest is 21 months. And I started this process. I started inquiring about it 6 months after she was born. And I was told that it's better to wait until 6 months to a year after you're done nursing. And that's what I did. I nursed her for 6 months, and then I waited a little over a year. How did they choose how much to remove? So, again, I don't know all of the medical jargon, but for me, I wanted to be a C cup, because if I got any bigger, I was fine with a D. I wasn't fine with a double D. If I got smaller, I was fine with a B. I wasn't fine with an A. So I thought C was such a good, like, in-between one, to where if I lose or gain any weight, then I have a little bit of wiggle room in there. My doctor originally told me he thought it was going to be a D or a double D. And that is based on, because I had very saggy breasts, and so that was based on, he said they measure from underneath where your, like, the crease of your boob is to where your nipple is. So mine obviously was down lower. And he was worried that if he went too small with how saggy mine were, that I would lose sensation in them. But he did say he would do his best. And that's what I told him. I was like, do your best to get me to a C, but I didn't want to compromise nipple sensation. If that's not an issue for you, you can take out as much as you want. Hopefully that answered your question. Were there limits on how much weight you can lift afterwards? Yes. For the first week, I could lift nothing. They wanted me literally not lifting anything. For the first 2 weeks, actually. And then after that, I could lift like 10 pounds, which was really challenging because I have a toddler, a young one. She's not even 2. But my husband was a big help in that. And then I was lifting her, like, I felt fine to, like, lift her, like, from the ground up, or from, like, out of her car seat down. That was fine. I didn't feel comfortable, like, bending down to pick her up. I had to squat and then pick her up. Same with, like, laying her in her crib, like, leaning over and laying her down, I wasn't comfortable with. So I did around 3 weeks, which honestly was earlier than my doctor suggested. He always said 4 to 6 weeks. But again, I listened to my body and made sure, like, if I had any openings, I probably wouldn't have done that either. Are there any BMI requirements? Some doctors do require it. My doctor never mentioned it to me. When I first started talking to him, I think I was a 34% on the BMI charts. Some doctors will say under 30 from what I've seen in the group. And some had said they could go to another doctor, and the doctor didn't say anything. So just depends on your doctor, I guess, and how much over that 30% that you are. How much pain did you have afterwards? The first 3 days were the worst, and then every day got better after that. After the first week, I was feeling really good. 2 weeks, I was practically back to myself, just made sure not to lift or do anything like that. Was it expensive? It was not cheap. My insurance paid for mine. And I spent, in the end, it's going to cost me just under $3,000. But I did hear that if you call your hospital and ask them for an itemized report, that it often knocks down the price, because then they're itemizing it and they take things off, I guess. I'm not sure. So I might try that. I've also heard if you call the doctor or call the hospital, the billing department, and pay your bill in full, that a lot of times they'll knock down the price as well. So I'll probably try both those options. I like to share, so thanks for asking the questions. How much weight did I lose after breast reduction? Do you mean overall or just from the reduction? I think they took 580 from one side, I believe, and like 530 some from the other side. Grams. Sorry, 530 grams. Which I think equals like 3.5, 4 pounds. I just had a reduction a week ago. I'm in pain. Did you have drains? Do you have drains? Because I've heard that those can cause a lot of like irritation and pain. I'm very scared, but I am in need of this. What exactly are you scared of? Like the anesthesia? To me, it was like going to sleep. I'm scared. Oh, you're scared about the scars. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you scar. I don't scar terribly. But for me, the only person who's going to be seeing those scars are my husband and I. And 2 of the 3 scars are mostly hidden. So it's really just the one. And if it's anything like my C-section scar, it's going to be very thin and light and shouldn't bother me. But I understand it's a concern. It's there. You just have to weigh like what outweighs it, right? So if you're concerned about the scars, is that enough to keep you from getting the reduction and being, for me, it was being pain-free in my back. How'd you get insurance to pay for this? I do have a video on this, and I mentioned it a few minutes ago, but call your insurance, see what their requirements are for a medically necessary breast reduction, and your insurance will probably have some things for you to follow. I had drains with mine when I was 21. It sucked, but I was managing pain with Tylenol. The stronger pain meds made me sick. Me too. I didn't take any narcotics. I took acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, for the first week, and that was even spread out. I took it only as needed. For the first 3 days, I did take the Tylenol very consistently and took some nerve pain to help with that burning sensation. One thing I will say that I'm a little disappointed in, that I thought a reduction would immediately help with, is my posture. So I hunch very, very bad. I can sit up straight. It's just that my body is so used to hunching forward that it feels better now to sit up straight, whereas before it actually hurt because it's just so much weight. And so that's another reason why I want to start working out, is because I know I need to get that core strength back to be able to have better posture. So that's something I kind of thought would be better right away, is that I would naturally just sit up straighter. But unfortunately it didn't. I'm going to have to work for that one a little bit harder. Hopefully this helps. I might just answer 1 or 2 more questions here. I'm strongly considering a second reduction because I'm now 40 and weight gain has made them bigger again. They can get bigger with weight gain. That's something I have been concerned about too, because I lost so much weight in such a short amount of time. I lost 50 pounds in September, and if I don't maintain that, I know that my boobs get bigger. I mean, with pregnancy even, they got bigger. And so that's something even now that I get concerned about. And so it's just something you have to work with, because if you lose a bunch of weight, it's great, but it's a lifestyle change, right? It's not just go on a diet, lose 10 pounds, gain it back, lose 10 pounds. It's a lifestyle change for me even. I mean, a lot of my weight gain had to do a lot with kids, and I gained 50 pounds when I'm pregnant, 50 to 60 pounds with every single one of my kids. I lose 30 pounds usually within the first 3 weeks of having my kids. It's insane. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. I know a lot of that would be fluid, but that's just how it is. And then those 20 pounds, I could usually work and get 10 more pounds off, but with each kid, I just gained 10 more pounds back. So hopefully I can maintain it and won't have to do another reduction. But if you need it, girl, go do it. If it's impacting your life, go get that second reduction. You're welcome. I'm happy to share. Just a couple more questions here. I see a couple more people jumped on, so I want to make sure that if you have a question, you can ask it. And then I'm going to go get some sleep and take a shower. Also, when picking your doctor, just make sure you pick someone who listens to you. Because there's a lot of people in the group who have talked about, like, especially with some of the guys or male doctors, the males are like, oh, you'll go too small, or they'll agree ahead of time. And then when they get in the surgery, the doctor didn't take out enough because they thought that what they wanted was too small. So just make sure that who you have, you trust, you read reviews on them, and appreciate you sharing. I have questions, but I'll probably DM you. I'll do my best to look. Make sure that you're going on and watching some of my videos too. And then going through the highlights on my page too, because I did answer some Q&A questions in there as well. But I'm happy to help and answer some questions. How about the scars? I do have scars. I have what's called an anchor incision. There's usually two different types of incisions, anchor and lollipop. I had the anchor one, which goes around the nipple, down vertical, and then underneath the breast. And so they will fade or be hidden, but they are permanent. But scars were worth it for me. They don't bother me. And to me, they're already healing really good, but I scar fairly well. Are the size the same? Are like each side the same? Yes, there is one little spot on like this side that the shape is just a little bit different, but they're sisters, they're not twins, and it's not an exact science. So, but they are the same size. They're very symmetrical. They look good. I will say my areolas went from being like pepperonis to like quarter size. And it's very strange because it looks so tiny, because I feel like my nipple is still big and it's like I have the smallest areola now. I had my reduction a week ago. I'm a little scared about the scars. It's understandable. I mean, it's changing your body, and it is scary. Even beforehand, I was scared about some of those scars as well, and not just the scars, but I have very intrusive thoughts, so I thought of pretty much everything that could go wrong, and everything was perfect. And I just listened to my doctor. Again, I didn't have any openings or anything like that. I had a very good experience, so I'm happy about that. There's always risks, right, with any surgery, but the benefits definitely outweigh those for me. So, all right, guys, I think I am going to hop on here. Scars are a sign of a life lived. I love that. Yes, that is true. I'm going to hop off here and get ready for bed. I got a long drive ahead. When did you feel good enough to go back to work? Y'all are getting these questions in right in the nick of time. I went back after 2 weeks. I could have went back after a week. Yeah, but I had a desk job. So if you have something where, like, if you're a waitress or something like that, or, you're moving around a lot, you're going to need, probably if you have a very physical job, you'll need the full 6 to 8 weeks off. I didn't. I was well enough to sit at my desk at home and work. And my boss told me if I needed to take some breaks here and there that I could. So it was really helpful. Hopefully that answered your questions. But feel free to DM me if I missed anything, or if you have more questions, and I'll try to get to them. But just make sure you're going out and watching those videos and watching my page, because I'll post some more things. And if there's any type of content I haven't posted that you guys want to see, just let me know, and I will work on getting that up. It's been really busy this week. I like to post a little bit more, but with me traveling for work, it's just been tough. What about to drive and carry heavy things? I did answer the heavy things earlier. there are restrictions, especially the first 6 to 8 weeks. You want to be very careful lifting heavy things. To drive, my doctor never actually told me not to drive, but I didn't for the first like 10 days. And even then, like to steer the steering wheel, like, and to stretch up, because you can't do like any stretching. Even now it feels a little tight under here. And so driving, I had to like keep my hands down here and then turn the wheel this way. So it was a little bit trickier, but I was able to do it. So, okay, I'm hopping off here now. I've said this like 5 times, but I hate leaving people with asking questions. So you are welcome. I hope you guys have a great night wherever you're from. And I'll do one of these again later. So have a good night.